Praise the Lord, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us today. My name is Pastor Taye Halu. I bring you greetings from the New Direction Church, where we are Compass for Change. And today is a great day for a new direction. So we certainly celebrate your presence as you're watching us. Also, we want to send a special shout out to all of our moms out there today. Happy Mother's Day to all of you beautiful, fantastic moms. We celebrate you today. Even to my mom, I say happy Mother's Day. I love you, Mommy. Thank you for watching and thank you for tuning in as we are celebrating you today. And also we're getting ready to celebrate God's presence through his word. So we want to ask all of you now, for those, first of all, celebrate also the moms to be. Shout out to you, moms to be. For those who are carrying right now but don't even know, happy Mother's Day to you who might find out in your next cycle. We certainly give you a shout out right now, all of the moms. Happy Mother's Day to all of our grandmoms. We certainly celebrate you. All of our moms who have already transitioned, has been promoted to heaven. We certainly say happy Mother's Day to them. All to our adoptive moms, foster moms, play moms, God mommies. We say happy Mother's Day to all of you. Now, we want to transition now. Let's draw our attention to the Word of God. I would invite you at this moment to go to Jeremiah chapter 29. We'll take a look at Jeremiah 29, and we'll start with verses 11 through 13. Jeremiah chapter 29, verses 11 through 13, and I'll be reading from the New King James Version. And it reads, "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope. Then you will call upon me and go and pray to me, and I will listen to you. And you will seek me and find me when you search for me with all of your heart." Again, let me just read it again, verse 11. "For I know the thoughts that I think toward you, says the Lord, thoughts of peace and not of evil, to give you a future and a hope." So today I want to share from the topic, don't panic, there's a plan. Don't panic, there's a plan. I think you need to just say this to yourself. Self, don't panic, there's a plan. I need to be reminded even for myself. Pastor Taye, don't panic, there is a plan. With all of this that is going on right now in our culture and in our country, we all can say that there are moments where we are tempted, that even in a pandemic, there is this temptation to want to tap the button of panic and to cause the alarms to go off. And for many of us, we're fighting the urge of feeling this need to panic, feeling like there is high level anxieties that rise up. There is this angst. There's these moments of uncertainty that we're wrestling with, but we will find hope in God's scripture. That even as it was in the days of Jeremiah, as they were contextually going through a moment of being captured by the Babylonians, they were in this process of moving those who were the children of Judah or the children of Israel, moving them from Jerusalem, moving them to Babylonia or to Babylon, my mistake, back to Babylon, to a place now what we would refer to as Iraq, and they would find themselves living in a whole nother system, whole nother culture, finding themselves oppressed and going through some very arduous and difficult moments. But even in that, there were a few people who had remained in Jerusalem, and the prophet Jeremiah was one of those individuals. Now, he found himself being imprisoned, and he was, at the time of writing this in chapter 29, he is writing to those who were far away in Babylon and to the modern day Iraq. He is writing to those elders and to those priests and to those who were captured and deported from Jerusalem, and he's trying to write to them what God had revealed to him in this moment. With all of this anxiety and with all of this chaos that was unfolding for them, this is a hard situation to deal with because their life had been interrupted, their life had been disrupted, and everything is requiring new adjustments. They are in a new place where the culture is different, the language is different, the food is different, the religious system is different. Everything is different for them. And with this difference that they now have to live in, they have to rediscover or evaluate how do I live in this new culture? How do I live with these new parameters and these new restrictions? We can't do what we used to do. We can't go where we used to go. There's a new system of how we need to function. And though Jeremiah could not be there with them, and as he is writing to them, what God is speaking to him, he is saying this even from a place of imprisonment, and him being confined, and him being locked down in prison, and having a stay-at-home order while he's in prison in those walls. He writes to them and says this: as we are going through these moments, rest assured, those who are in exile. He's speaking to the people that God is speaking to me, and I am capturing what God is saying to me. And one of the things that he writes in the beginning, he says, listen, he says in verse 11, for I know the thoughts that I have towards you, saith the Lord. Or another version would say this, for I know the plans that I have towards you. And so one of the things that we need to recognize that in all of this that we are facing right now, with all of this uncertainty, scratching our heads, constantly thinking about how long will this last? How long will this extend for us? When can we go back to the things that it used to be? Or will it be what it used to be? And when we come back, how things will be new and how things will be different, and how much of the old and how much of the relics and how much of the things that we used to do can we grab a hold to but have some tweaks here and there? What can we expect from all of this? And with so much uncertainty from leaders, from religious institutions, and our own personal lives, and even the uncertainty of how long will our jobs allow us to do what we're doing, and how long will the unemployment last, and how long will the stimulus be extended to us, how long will we be able to do some of the things that we're doing now, and when will we experience a food shortage, or if we shall experience a food shortage, or what if the finances run low? With all of these uncertainties, I am unclear about what to do next. And so maybe it is in my best interest for me to create a plan for my life. Maybe I need to be inquisitive enough. Maybe I need to be creative enough. Maybe I need to be innovative enough to come up with something that best suits my life in this season. And I got to do what works best for me. Maybe I need to start thinking ahead. Maybe I need to be very strategic about what I'm about to do and what needs to come next for my life and my family. Maybe it really depends on my ability to think savvy in this process, or to think through what should be next for me. And even at my best, it is very limited because I don't have any foresight of what is getting ready to come. Because for what we're facing right now, we have never lived through. It has never been in books. We don't have a paradigm to follow. All we know is right now we have to live each day as it comes and as it stretches out before us. But we are reminded through the words of Jeremiah as God spoke to him and he begins to pen it, that God says, for I know the thoughts and the plans that I have towards you. Thoughts to give you peace, not evil, a future and a hope. And with all of this that is unfolding right now, it is good to know that even when people are uncertain about what's next, God is very clear then, and he is very clear now. I know the plans that I have for you. I am very clear, just as it was when I first created you, as he wrote in chapter 1. He says, even as I was clear how I created you, what I wanted to do with your life, how I set you apart, how I consecrated you, how I called you, how I conformed you, how I gave you a charge over your life. I'm very clear about the plans concerning your life, about the everyday activity of your life. I got some plans. I have some thoughts. I have some concepts. There's some things that I want to strategically do with your life. And just as I was clear about creating you, I'm also clear about how I'm going to sustain you. Somebody ought to say amen right there. That even when I am uncertain about what tomorrow will bring for my life, God is very clear that no matter what comes your way, I'm going to be right there with you. No matter what comes, hell or high water, I will walk with you. I will hold your hand. I will instruct you. I will give you direction, and I will be there every step of the way. He says, I know the plans I have towards you. Thoughts of giving you peace, not evil, a future and a hope. Another version says, I know the plans that I have for you. Plans to give you peace and an expected end. God is very clear. I know exactly what I plan to do, what I had thought of before I formed you, I didn't just think about how I was going to create you. I didn't just think about the calling I'm going to give on your life. I'm also concerned about your day-to-day activity and the strategies and what things are going to unfold. And I'm very clear about a plan that I'm going to unfold in your life. I am very clear about what I want to see happen systematically, daily in your life. And the only way you're going to find out is you're going to have to be connected with me. He says, I know it. You may not know it. You may not be clear every single day of what's getting ready to come and what he desires of you. But rest assured, God is very clear about what he wants to do with you and what he wants to do with me. He says, I know the thoughts that I have concerning your life. My life and your life has not caught God by surprise. These things are uncertain to us, but these things were already clear to God before he even created us. And he says, even through all of this, I already know what I want to see happen. I already know how I want you to respond. I've already made provisions for everything that you're getting ready to face in your tomorrow and your today. It is already covered. I've already equipped you for what you got to face today, and I'm going to equip you for what you got to face tomorrow. And the reason why you've been equipped is because I have a plan. It's not catching me off guard. I'm not sitting here trying to ponder what's next. I'm not scratching my head trying to decide what I'm going to do next, that if you do this, then maybe I'll do this. No, God is already clear that when you make a decision, I was already there waiting for you to show up. Before you already decide what you're going to think before you thought it, God was already clear on how he was going to respond. Somebody ought to say amen. He is very clear about your life and my life. And while we have been so thoughtful in trying to map out what our present day should look like, as well as trying to map out what our tomorrow should look like, God says, all you doing, you spending all of this energy and all of this time and all of this wherewithal trying to figure out what's next. All you had to do is really talk to me about it. You sitting here trying to scratch your brain and really trying to strategize what you should do based upon the limited of information that you already have. How long will you be in this situation? You don't know that. I know that you ought to be talking to me. How long will you have to feel like this? You don't know that. I know that you ought to be talking to me. How much money will last you in this season? You don't know that. I know that. You don't know how far your health is going to take you. You don't know that. I know that. And even in this situation, God is saying, you're worrying about things that's not in your lane. Your responsibility is to seek after me, talk to me, pray to me, worship me, reverence me, and I will reveal to you what's next on the plan. But all you have to do is just trust that I know everything concerning not just your today, but I'm also clear about your tomorrow. You shouldn't be worrying about things that are not in your lane. You should be worrying about whether or not in this moment am I submitting to you. In this moment am I surrendering to you. In this moment, am I giving you praise? In this moment, am I honoring you? And God is saying, I am telling you, I have all of that covered because I already know the plans that I have for you. Yeah, I know sometimes it is very difficult to stay in our seat, but it is always easy and it is always a moment of temptation for us to leave our seat and to sit into his seat and try to figure out what we should do and how we should manipulate this and how we should necessarily steer it and how I should guide it and how I should kind of push it and how I should swing the pendulum a little bit. Maybe if I work a little bit harder, maybe if I change my skill set, maybe if I do more fact finding, maybe if I'm more savvy, maybe if I am more independent, maybe if I start saving a little bit, I'll be able to position myself well should calamity comes. And with all of this energy that we're expending, I am using all of this energy to think about what the plan should be rather than asking him what plan already exists. Concerning my life, I'm trying to create a plan that should supersede a plan that is already laid out for me. There is a systematic approach to my life. There is a concept. There are some things that God strategically wants accomplished in my life, and I am literally trying to create my plan as I go based upon my experiences, based upon my limited wisdom, based upon my own financial status, based upon opportunities, trying to create a plan for my life, which I think at times is strong enough to not only cover the benefit of me, but those who are relying on me to provide for them. when in fact, all I had to do is pause and say, God, can you reveal to me what that plan is, and then help me to get on your page and surrender my plans to you. Proverbs would say this in 16. Many are the plans in a man's heart, but it is the Lord's plans and the Lord's purpose that prevails. We can come up with all the plans that we want. We can come up with all the ideas that we want, and it doesn't guarantee success. What guarantees success is following God's purpose and plans. That's what prevails in my life. And what I need to do and what you need to do is come to a place where we humble ourselves and recognize I don't have this in my hands. I don't control what comes before my path. I don't really have the reins of my life like I thought I did. And I can't control what comes into my life. I can't control what goes in my life. If I did, we wouldn't be in a pandemic. If this was the case, we wouldn't be on a lockdown. If this was the case, I would have everything totally different. But since I cannot control this ought to remind me, but there is one that is in control. And that is the one I need to be submitting and surrendering my heart to. I need to calm down for a moment and remind myself, don't panic. There's a plan. Yes, I have to deal with stuff that I can't control, but don't panic. I know I want to hit the panic button. I know you feel like hitting the panic button and the moment of anxiety rises up. I know you want to hit it and sound the alarm, but I want to remind you, don't panic. There's a plan. It may not feel like it. It exists. You may not know it, but it exists. Don't hit the panic button just yet. There's a plan for our life. God is clear to Jeremiah that as those who were captured and deported by the Babylonians back to Iraq, when they get there, they are uncertain how life is going to be for them. And he's very clear for them. I know you're unclear, but there's some things that you need to recognize, that even in this situation, I'm going to take care of you. God says to Jeremiah to say to the people who were away. Now, again, context, he's writing while he's in prison. He's writing from a difficult situation himself. But as he's writing, he is writing to encourage them while they are away from him, while they are at a distance, hundreds of miles away, to tell them it's okay. God has a plan for our life. And God knows what this plan is. You are uncertain, I am uncertain, but God knows what the plan is. He knows what he thinks. He knows the thoughts he has towards us. And these plans are thoughts of peace, thoughts of shalom, thoughts of wholeness and completeness and soundness, none of evil. Yes, we're in a very difficult situation, but God is not doing this from a disposition of evil. His thoughts and his plans towards us are for peace. That even while we are in a very difficult predicament, he still have plans for peace for us, even in the midst of a predicament. That even while things are chaotic, we can still have a moment of shalom right where we are. Yes, you have been deported. Yes, you are in a situation that you are not familiar with. Yes, you have been pushed into a lifestyle that you are uncomfortable with. Yes, you have been removed from all the amenities and the people and the lifestyle and the patterns that you were accustomed to. But even in that, God can extend some shalom to your life, where you have wholeness. There's no gaps in your soul. That you have soundness. There's no gaps in your mind. That you have completeness, lacking nothing. That God can still sustain you even when there's a place of chaos, and even in the midst of a pandemic. Don't panic. God has a plan. So he says to him, tell them I have thoughts, or another version says, I have plans for peace. That there ought to be, even in this difficult situation that we're all facing. Jeremiah writes from his own context, writing to other people who are in a difficult context. He has a predicament. they're in a predicament. They're both in situations that they cannot control, that they cannot manipulate, and they can't wiggle themselves out of. They can't think themselves out of this situation. They got to just let some things unfold. And their disposition towards God had moved them to a place after 40 years of him preaching to them that if we don't straighten up, if we don't return to God, if we don't give God our hearts, then we're ultimately going to face judgment. We will ultimately experience another side of God that we have never seen before. Yes, God is gracious. Yes, God is kind. Yes, God is loving. Yes, God is compassionate, but he is also just, and we will not be abusing grace. And so he had told them, this is to come if we don't prepare our hearts, if we don't steer our hearts towards him. And they had just said, listen, okay, we're not listening. We're going to do our own thing. And they find themselves right back at the place where they are now. And so even through this, they're reminded we have a plan on our life for peace. When God's telling Jeremiah, he says, listen, I have thoughts of shalom over their life. I'm not going to remove this predicament yet. They will stay in this predicament for a season. I'm not removing it yet. But while they are in it, I will give them peace while they're in a difficult situation. That even when they feel like panicking, they don't have to, because I have a plan. And my plan includes, it is entitling them to a place of wholeness, to a place of soundness, and a place of completeness where they will have and experience the peace that comes from me. And I want them to be able to experience this, that no matter how hard it is around them, what I'm giving them is something that is in them. I'm going to give them peace. That doesn't come from the outside working its way on the inside. What I'm giving them is going to work from the inside out. I'm giving them something that they cannot find in their environment, that is absent in their environment. But what I will do is put it on the inside of them. I will give them my shalom. And even in this moment, we got to be clear that when I'm seeking God, that I'm not just seeking him for the stuff that comes from heaven, but I need to be really seeking what comes from his heart, not just his hand. That even in this moment, we can have a very difficult predicament we found ourselves in, even right now, that God is making sure that we not only give us peace, that his plan towards us entitles us to have protection. His plan also entitles us to have provision. His plan makes sure that we unleash the potential on the inside of us. His plan makes sure that we operate in his provision and what he has called us to. And most importantly, we have the guarantee of God's presence. That even in this, that is happening around us, we have the presence of God with us. We have the presence of God. He says, listen, not only am I not giving you this situation to deal with, and I'm not pulling you out of it just yet, but what I will do is give you peace while you're in it. And that is enough to reassure me that even if God doesn't change what is happening right now in this season, and we're waiting for things to expire, we have no idea of the timeline for what we're facing right now globally, and more specifically what we're facing as a country. But what we can rest assured is that God will give us what we need while we're in this predicament. God has a plan, and he has his thoughts towards us, thoughts of peace, not of evil. Not of evil. God is not punishing, and he's not putting his clutches in us. But what he will do is bring us to a place that we get a chance to see him and draw closer to him and turn our hearts over towards him. He desires for us to draw closer even in the midst of a pandemic, even in the midst of a predicament, in the midst of problems and pain. He desires for us to draw closer to him in a way that we have never have before. He says, my plan also includes thoughts of a future and a hope. That with all this that are facing right now, yes, it has been difficult. Some have lost wages. Some have lost employment. Some have lost privileges. Some have lost some freedoms. Some have lost loved ones. We have lost so many things. And if the truth be told, all of us are going through a season of grieving. All of us have lost something in this season. whether it is a family member, whether it is a loved one, whether it was opportunity, whether it was the ability to go out, we are all grieving being able to go to our sanctuary and to fellowship with our other brothers and sisters, or to be able to just go to the mall. We have lost something, and this is the first time in our life that we've had these level of restrictions, these level of things taken away from us. And how do we manage effectively, mentally and emotionally, dealing with this loss that have come into our life? And little do we know, we are already in a grieving process. Some of us haven't acknowledged it. Some of us didn't think of it that way. But many of us have already lost something near and dear. Grieving is not just losing a human being, but it's also losing something that we cared near and dear to our hearts. We have all have embraced this process of dealing with a loss. That even in this, for them, the Jews had to deal with grieving in this process. They were going through a process where they have lost so much was left and taken away from them. How do we manage through this process effectively? And God says to Jeremiah, to tell them, even in this, as I say to you, I have a future. My plans concerns your future. I have plans also for a hope for you. That even in this, that when you feel like you have lost heart, my plans include and entails a component that you don't feel heartless anymore. That even in this, there is some courage that should be welling up on the inside of you. I have given you something that you not only feel like you heartless, but I want to make sure that even in this, when you don't know what to do, that you don't also feel helpless. I am making sure that I have a plan concerning your life, that you don't feel heartless, that you don't feel helpless, and no more will you feel despair that causes you to feel hopeless. His desire is that we're no longer heartless, no longer feeling like I am helpless, and no longer feeling like I am hopeless. But God says, I got a plan concerning your life. Don't panic. Don't panic. I know the gut reaction, the knee-jerk reaction for you, what feels appropriate is for you to embrace the panic, to embrace the fear, to embrace the anxiety, to soothe and massage doubt in your head and these uncertain moments. But I'm telling you, in this moment, don't panic. I got a plan concerning your life. The plan that I have covers not only your present, but it also covers your future. I'm making sure that I'm covering not just your right now, but I'm already in your tomorrow. That when this season has passed, I will ensure that your tomorrow is covered. The things that are on your heart, the things that are presenting itself as a burden, I've already thought about it. It ain't catching me by surprise. I'm not in heaven trying to scramble to fix it or to manipulate it or to put some things into place. I've already put it into place. Before I formed you, I made sure that you already had provision for every problem and a healing moment for every painful moment that you have to endure. God has already thought of everything that you're going to go through, and there's already a solution to every problem that I have to face. God has already thought through every dynamic that concerns you and that concerns me, and there is already a solution to every problem we're getting ready to face. So as he says to Jeremiah, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, don't panic, I got a plan. Don't panic. And the moment that you really wrap your mind around the fact that it is not in my best interest to panic, because God has a plan, that I recognize that he holds my life in his hand, that he already thought about it. That you know what? Already, that before I come out of this situation, he has already strategically set up employment for me. He's already strategically made sure that my relationship will flourish. He's already set up to make sure that my next dwelling place is already laid out, that it is already covered. He's already made sure that the things that have given me sleepless nights and things that causes me to lose my appetite and to lose my zeal and my passion for living, he's already covered that. He's already gone before me. He's already setting up strategically somebody to use their giftedness, their talents, their resources, their influence on my behalf. He has already went before me to make sure that even when the enemy comes into my path, he will make sure that whatever weapons he throws at me, that it doesn't have the ability to prosper. He will already make sure that even when the enemy sets up traps before me, that he will go before me and dismantle every trap, every scheme, every tactic that the enemy will bring my way. He's already thought of everything that I'm getting ready to face, and he reminds me, not only have I covered your future, but I'm doing enough to ensure that you got some hope, that you don't have nothing to worry about, that I've already covered what you're getting ready to face, so you can take good courage, you can have cheer, and have hope to know that I've already thought about what you're getting ready to face. Stop taking time trying to figure out everything, and rest assured that God has already thought about it. It was already in his plans, and he's already covered it. As Isaiah would say in Isaiah 55:9, he says, "For just as the heavens are far from the earth, so are my ways and my thoughts higher than yours." And just as there's a big gulf between the heaven and the earth, the way that God thinks, the way that God processes, the way that God sees, his perspective is higher than ours. And the things that I have been thinking about, the things that I have been planning about, may not have been in his will for my life. And it's best for us to relinquish our will and surrender it to him, and understand that God's plan is not better, it's best. And so I need to recognize that what God has for me is far better than what I could ever thought of, or better conceived, or whatever I can come up with, or conjure up, or ponder over. God's way is not better, it's best for my life. And I need to get to a place that I have to start receiving and acknowledging that whatever God is planning for me, it is in my best interest to humble myself, redirect myself to say, God, what is it you think concerning my life? You created me for a reason. I am living in this season. You already know what's getting ready to come. How do I need to structure my time? How do I need to change my posture? What do I need to do next? Who needs to be involved in this strategy? What do I need to do when they come into my life? What instructions do I need to follow? When do I need to move forward? And when do I need to stand still? When do I change my posture? When do I need to run, and when do I need to walk? When do I need to stand still and see the salvation of the Lord? And when do I need to rest in you? I need to take all of his instruction, because God understands the plan. Don't panic. Don't panic. Don't panic, because there's a plan. And then when you get to verse 12, he says this: "Then you will call upon me." Then you will call upon me. When? Then when? When you recognize that I had a plan for you, and you adopt the fact that I got you covered. When you accept the premise that I already thought of everything that you're going to face, it is at that moment when I recognize that I don't need to panic because he got a plan. It is that moment. It is in that moment, then it moves me to have action. He says, then you will call upon me. It is in that moment you will call upon me, and you will go. And then you will, this verse here is full of action steps. He's pushing a point. Notice what he says. He says, then you will call upon me, and then you will go. And then you will pray to me, and then I will listen, and I will hear you. And then you will seek me, and then you will find me. And then you will search for me with all of your heart. Look at all this action, full with action steps. He says, listen, that the moment that you understand that you don't have to panic, that I have a plan for your life, that ought to trigger in you some action to participate. I am saying to you, yes, I understand what you're going through. Yes, I understand that you're going through a difficult moment, but you don't have to panic. And in this moment, I have a plan. And if you understand that I have a plan, then it ought to drive you to pray. If you understand that I have a plan for your life, it should drive you to pray. I am not asking you to have a disposition of being passive. This is an invitation for you to participate. Yes, I have a plan for your life, but you need to participate in the plan that I have laid out for you. It ain't going to just come into your lap. It's going to require some effort. It's going to require for you to submit, and it's going to require your obedience. And yes, I have a plan for your life to give you a future and to give you a hope and to prosper you and to lead you to an expected end, but it's going to require some participation. It doesn't mean because I have a plan, you can kick back and do nothing. Because I have a plan doesn't mean that you can sit idle in your walk with me and in your journey of life. This is going to require some participation. Am I doing enough now? Understanding that God has a plan for my life, it needs to drive me to participate. He says, then you will call upon me, and then you will go. You're going to call upon me. Then you're going to go, which means you're going to call upon me. You're going to recognize that God has a plan for my life. I need to change what I'm doing, and now I need to connect with God. And he says, the minute you do that, you will put yourself in a position where you'll be able to hear from me. He says, you will call upon me and go. And he says, then you'll pray to me and I will listen. Notice, you move, he moves. You participate, God responds. There is an invitation for you to come closer to God. In this moment of them going through this difficult situation, being in Jerusalem, being deported over to Babylon, which is modern day Iraq, he says, listen, I'm going to be with you. I'm going to give you peace in the midst of all of this chaos there. And yes, I have a plan for you even while you're in that difficult situation. I can flourish you even in this difficult situation. Yes, in this difficult situation, your future unfolds before you. Even in a difficult situation, I'll give you hope in this difficult situation. It's going to require some participation. It's going to require you to talk to me. And when you talk to me, I will respond. Now, here's the push. The participation comes with my engagement of my prayer life. He wants me to not just pray for his hand. He's concerned about me giving him my heart and connecting with his heart. He's not concerned with me just always seeking from him and not caring about him. It's one thing to say to God, God, I'm calling on you because I need the peace of God. But he says, that's not just how your prayer should be structured. I am not concerned with you asking for the peace of God and ignoring the God of peace. I'm not concerned with you asking for the strength of God, but ignoring the God of strength. And in this moment, he is pushing us to care more about him than what we can get out of him or what he can do for us. He wants us to be in love with him, that even in this difficult situation, he's looking to see how will you respond to God? How much will you care about him? Not just what he can do for you, not just how he can rescue you, not that he could just be a fix-it man for you, but how much do you care about God? And furthermore, how are you right now in your prayer life? How are you right now? Let's raise this question. It's a matter of, do you see your prayer life being more of a steering wheel or more like a flat tire? If your prayer life is like a steering wheel, it's alluding to the fact that I'm allowing it to steer me and I am looking for direction. And if I'm using prayer as my steering wheel, the prayer life that I'm engaging with God will tell me when I can make turns and how I move forward, how I can put it in reverse, how I can make certain turns and how I can make certain movements. Prayer becomes a steering wheel. Or am I at a place in my life that prayer is like a spare tire, that I only use it in cases of emergency, that I only use it when things are starting to putter in my life or when things start to feel deflated? Do I reach for the spare tire when I no longer have any mobility, when I cannot move forward, when I can't make any turns in life? That's when I'm looking for emergency roadside assistance to pull over to the side and start looking for prayer to be my spare tire. And if the truth be told, if we use that analogy, look how many times you have ridden with somebody in the car and they had to use a spare tire. Have you ever looked at the face of somebody that was driving who did not have a spare tire? Do you ever seen the look on their face but they don't know what to do in that moment? Or have you been in a car with somebody that had a flat tire and they don't even know what a spare tire is? They don't even know what a spare tire is. They're like, look, let me look in the back. I need to pull all that stuff out of the trunk just to see if I have it right now. I think it's back there. Or better yet, have you been in a car with somebody and they would say this, I ain't never had to use that spare tire. I don't even know if it's got any air in it. You be like, what? You don't know if it got any air? Or you end up relying on this spare tire and they pull it out and that tire is about the size of a bicycle wheel. And you sitting there riding on 20s, riding on dubs, on 24-inch rims, and they pull out this little spare tire to look like it can go on a bicycle. And you sitting there like, we can't go no further on this. And that's how some people's prayer life has been. I only use it in case of emergencies. I only use it for me to be rescued by God or for God to come and give me emergency roadside assistance, not just so that I can travel on it or find direction for my life, but we've only been using it in order for us to get us out of difficult situations. So we got to remind ourselves that prayer ought to be engaged as a steering wheel. And in this moment, he reminds his people, don't panic. Don't panic at all, because I got a plan. And I don't have to panic when I understand that God has a plan. And things become clearer for me when I understand that he has a plan for me, and it moves me to a place of prayer, because I recognize that prayer helps me to reveal to me what his plan is for my life. The more I engage in prayer, the more I understand his plan for me. So you're starting to say to yourself, well, how can I understand what God's plan is for me and my family right now in this season? Well, I need to challenge you to engage yourself in prayer, not just to ask him for his hand, not just to rescue you, but just so that you can draw closer to him. And the more time that I spend in prayer with God, the more he reveals to me on a continuous basis what's next for my life. The more I call upon him. He says, listen, if you call upon me and go and pray to me, he says, I will listen to you. If you seek me, you will find me. That verse says seek. It doesn't say look. It's not a casual approach. It has to be a aggressive, continuous, diligent approach. If you seek me, you will find me when you search for me with all of your heart. It is a relentless pursuit to say no matter where it is, I'm turning things over. I'm expanding my awareness. I'm looking everywhere. I'm retracing my steps to figure out where have I lost it? Where have I missed it? To go back and find God. If I left God somewhere, I need to go back and try to figure out where did I walk away from God? What point in my life that caused me to stop talking to him? What did I do that caused me to drift away from God? And it causes me to take some steps back and retrace my steps. God is saying, if you seek after me, you will find me. If you're searching for me, I'll be right there. And I will not cause you to go relentless. I will not cause you to pursue me in vain. If you come after me, I will answer you and I will show you mighty things. But you got to look after me with your whole heart. You got to talk to me and care about me, not just the stuff I can give to you. I want you to search with me for your whole heart, not out of your flesh, but with your whole heart. I don't want you asking me for stuff. I want you to ask me, how am I doing? I want you to know what my plan is for your life, not for me to be manipulated and to pull things out of me just so that you can go back to what you once was in. I'm ready to change your life. God is reminding us we don't have to panic because there is a plan. And there's a plan for our life to guide us, to give us peace, future, and a hope. Things are going to be okay. If we just move beyond how I'm feeling. Feelings change. Feelings are deceiving. Feelings can lie. And we've all been there where our feelings have told us one thing. We felt one thing at one moment and felt another thing the next. And so I cannot rely on my feelings. But what I can do is rely on the word of the Lord that never changes. It was the same yesterday. It is the same today. And it'll be the same on tomorrow. He has a plan for our life. And just as he shared with Jeremiah, the moment you come to me, the moment my people will call upon me, I will answer them. And they will find me when they search for me with their whole heart. And the minute that they do that, I'll begin to reveal my plan for them, even in a difficult predicament. A pandemic does not qualify for you to panic. Not when you're my people. I got you covered. I've already thought through this. Everyone else and the world systems are trying to figure out what I already know. I got you covered. You don't need to panic. I've already thought through this. You're covered. You're taken care of. I've already have your provision in place. I've already made sure that your protection is in place. I've already made sure that your peace is made available to you. I've already made sure that the promises that I've already said, they're not null and void. They're about to be active in your life. And the more that you practice a principle, the more you can claim a promise. I've already made sure that your potential is being unleashed in your life. And most importantly, you got my presence, that no matter where you go, I'm going to be with you. So that even if you make your bed in hell, I'm going to be there with you. Even if you have to walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I'll be right there with you. So no matter where you go, I am there with you. I'm already making sure that no matter what comes your way, I have a plan for it. Nothing is going to take you out. Nothing is going to cause you to go under. In fact, I've made some promises over your life that I'm going to always be with you. If you rely on your own plans, you can always bank that there's going to be destruction. You will always find yourself disappointed. You will always find yourself feeling left down and feeling like you're in despair. But my plans are not just better, it's best for you. I always know what is best concerning your life. When humans in a period of time thought that all we had to do is just apologize to God and give him a sacrifice, that we'll be okay. But God says, no, you thought that that was the plan for your life. My plan says, no, you don't have to just throw any old kind of sacrifice, but I will give you a perfect sacrifice. This is not just any old lamb, but the perfect Lamb of God. Just when men thought that they could always think God's ways and figure out what God wanted next, he says, no, my plan is always better. I will always give you what you never thought that you needed. I will always give you what is best. Not only do I not give you what's best, I don't just give you any old kind of thing. I gave you my only begotten son. You thought it was going to be okay, but I gave you my best. God's plan is always best for our life. So it's in this moment. We are not to be passive as we're waiting for God to reveal to us what this plan is, but for us to participate in this plan. And the way that I participate in the revealing of this plan is through the posture of prayer, submitting my heart to him, repenting of anything that I have done that have caused me in my past or in my present to move away from him. This is the moment that I need to draw closer to him. This is the moment where I draw closer to him. This is the moment that I draw closer to him. This is the moment that I need to figure out what needs to go in my life, what needs to stay. And I need to be active in terms of every single day, setting moments aside to talk to my Heavenly Father. These are the moments where I need to connect with him. So I want to admonish you like Jeremiah admonished the people who were in captivity, that God will restore, no matter what we're facing right now. God will restore us and he'll draw us closer. And even in the craziest of situations, even though man's decision, the king Nebuchadnezzar, his decision was to come in and to capture the people and to move them to Babylon, God still works even in a pagan king's decisions. And then 70 years later, God moves through the decisions of another pagan king, Cyrus, to free the same people who was captured by another person. So even when a person doesn't think, they're functioning in the plan of God. God says, I've already thought about what you're getting ready to do, and I have an answer for it. So no matter how difficult it looks, no matter how bad it may seem in any area of your life, God already had a plan for it. No matter what I'm into, no matter what I feel like the deficit is right now, no matter where you are right now in your financial situation, don't panic, please, don't panic. God has a plan. He says, for I know the thoughts or the plans that I have for you. You're at your wits' end relationally with your spouse. Don't throw in a towel. I'm telling you, God has a plan. You're tired of the situation that we're in right now. You feel like you're losing your mind. You're feeling depressed. You're feeling like it's better that you don't even live anymore. I'm telling you to hang in there. That negative thinking is not God's will. That's not his thoughts. That's not his thoughts. Just because you're thinking it, that's not God's thoughts for you. You're valued. You are special. You are loved. You are worth way more than you give yourself credit for. So much so, he sent his son to die for you. That's how much you're worth. That's how much value you have in your life. And I'm telling you, no matter what you're facing right now, regardless of what you see, there is a plan that already exists to cover your today and to cover your tomorrow. So I want to encourage you in this moment. Don't panic. God has a plan. God bless you today. I pray that this has lifted your spirits and reminded you the importance of drawing closer to God, and his plan for us will be revealed in our prayer time. So I want to encourage you to go deeper in your prayer and to seek God. God bless you today.